was walking down the street when out the corner of my eye I saw a pretty little thing approaching me. She said, I never seen a man who looks so all alone. Could you use a little company? If you pay the right price, your evening will be nice and you can go and send me on my way.
I primarily began my smoking career with Lucky Strike cigarettes. Because I knew, despite all the bullshit advertising around it, there was some magic there. You know, that Lucky Strike cigarettes, symbolically, just in my heart, I knew that, in a way, Lucky Strikes was an answer to the gold rush. And all the gold rushes that went with the gold rush, you know what I mean? In a way, I kind of understood that very elementally, in a childlike sort of way, that there was some kind of real mojo and magic in this stuff. And despite the tough guy attitude that kind of went with tobacco in those days, at least that's the way some people saw it, I thought it was real poetic to smoke Lucky Strikes because it just meant that you were hitting the gold rush already. I mean, you already had the answer. You already had the pot of gold in your hands. You didn't have to go out and struggle with the jungle to get it either, man. It was already there, you know. That's the rock and roll soul. That's the coyote medicine. Metaphorically, don't you know? But in a way, it's very elemental, you know. Lucky Strikes were just like the shit for me, you know. And I liked, you had to open them just right. There was a ritual you went through to open a pack of those cigarettes, you know. And you had to do it just right. You had to take the cellophane this way, not that way. And you had to have it facing you this way so the chief was looking that way. And you always opened it on the side in which because you only opened one side of the pack. They were all fold-up things back in those days with aluminum foil around everything, you know. So you'd open that folded-up aluminum foil, had a seal over the top with the engine chief's face on it, you know. So then you'd open up that open up that aluminum foil very carefully, you know, just so. There was a ritual to it in a way. So you wouldn't harm the chiefy because he had to watch every cigarette you smoked and blessed it, you know. That's the way we looked at it as little kids, and that's why Lucky Strikes became a real fascination for me. But after a while, you know, I was 19, 20 years old, couldn't smoke them no more. The tobacco changed. It just went, you know. The boy back in the day, it was more pure than all that. It was a real tobacco then. I don't know what they changed into, but I think it was horse shit and bird feathers or something. I tell you, it had a rancid smell to it, you know. I remember coming home to my little apartment one time when I was about 18 years old. I was a working man already, you know, and I come home to my little apartment and there's this pungent smell, kind of musty, sicky kind of smell in my apartment. And I finally figured out that it was the lingering smell of that tobacco I was smoking, those Lucky Strikes in those days. So I just quit them and I went on to something else. I forget what it was, but you know, but I never lost the mystical aspect of it. I always kind of kept it quietly in the background of my heart somewhere. You know, and there was a long time I quit smoking because, you know, I had health issues and knew better, and so my lungs had to clear out too, and they did, you know, and now they kind of transform this stuff, you know. Like I said, I'm sure there are people living up here that have far better breath than I do, but at the same time, I'm pretty content within myself, and I'm real healthy. You know, this stuff doesn't wear me down the way it would some people, because I don't take it as an agony. I take it as an ecstatic thing. The ecstasy, you bet. And not the drug. It has its own elemental benefit. You see, I knew in tobacco, somehow as a tiny child, this Lucky Strike, yeah, was the answer to the emptiness, the gold rush feeling that sent people lusting after gold like it was the only thing there ever was, etc. The emptiness, the hollowness, the searching for the heart of gold everywhere you go, the insanity that drove humanity, you know. That's the gold rush as I describe it, you know, because you notice every time it happens there's a whole lot of larceny involved, man. You rape the land to begin with, and then they start to steal from one another like it's and shooting and killing over it all the time. While they're stealing from each other. I mean, it's just crazy shit, you know. One man's trying to hoard all of it to himself, quietly so, you know, the clever devils. They're always there somewhere. You see, and that's what's really corrupted this world, is the need to feed the gold rush, man. You know, that feeling that's the answer, that, you know, the lust of success is the best money you can get, you know. Wow, people feed on the lust of it, really. They don't even know it. It's because when they do win, when you win in that sick sort of way, it's ashes in your hands. You never get to feel it. You never get to enjoy it. You know, you get some status and privilege in life, and you get to be a power broker and shit like that. If you want to be, you don't have to play those roles. It doesn't come magically with the money, but in a lot of cases it tries to. But you do have a certain amount of independence. You can be cool if you want to be, but still holding that place can be real extremely difficult, because there's a lot of pressures out there on a monetarily wealthy person to conform to a certain standard. You know, it's more restrictive than a prison is in some ways. And money carries a burden with it in this old reality. So now we're liberating. We're all about liberation. So we're getting past such concepts and ideas now. But you got to understand how we got into them, man. You see, it was the gold rush feeling, the emptiness, you know. And Lucky Strikes, man, that tobacco, that elemental thing. There's something about tobacco, because it represents the mother love, the original plant to come forth for the earth, the elemental. And because of that, it can put an end to that emptiness, an element at a time. It grounds you into the earth reality, in other words, with a mother love, an element of the very basis of mother love. The need to create life and bring it forward from the earth. And if you take your cigarettes and tobacco that way, if you smoke a pipe, it's even better. I just can't do it. I love pipes, but they just mess with my tummy too much. So I smoke cigarettes, because that's the cleanest way for me to do it. But like I say, I manufacture my own. Just every now and then I feel like some corruption, and I'll buy me a pack of Camels, one sort or another, just for old time's sake. That's what I kind of fell into regularity when I could afford them, with Camels, you know. Otherwise I'd smoke those dirt weeds, you know, dirt weed cigarettes, you know, that were cheap, you know, whatever I could get, you know, depending on what stage of life I was in, you know. But and I smoked American spirits for a long time, because they were supposed to be supposedly more pure than anything else. And maybe they were, but I never liked them that much. And I always had a sore throat when I smoked them too. It was hard to talk on the radio and do those cigarettes, but I did it somehow. I just smoked those things 10, 15 years, you know. But then I finally started rolling my own. Again, I'd done it before in my life, so I knew what it was all about. And then a friend turned me on to these magic little apparatuses you can inject tubes with, and I said, hell yeah. So now I make my own filter tip cigarettes, so I can puff a little in the jungle here while we're hazing about here on the Coyote Medicine Show, only where else but exclusively so. The Hazy Radio Network, don't you know, babies? You're in tune now, ain't you, babies? And hell. I'm sorry to challenge your sensibilities so greatly, but you see, Lucky Strike is the answer. It's a metaphor, yes. It's the lucky strike of the heart, when it accepts the mother love in itself and no longer looks for it outside itself. You talk about a sweet change in direction. You see what I mean? That's the mid-course correction we had to do, man. Without that, it just wouldn't have happened. So here it is, babies. Just be it as you see it. And just live it. Just love it for being what it was and what it's guided you into. It's a lucky strike, all right. Here's to you, babies. I love you so. So does Mary Jane, by the way. They're cousins, you know. Soul sisters of the heart. Because Mary Jane is very elemental energy in this earth. She represents the first woman. You know, that's what Mary Jane represents. I'm talking about the plant now called marijuana in some circles. Cannabis in others. Hemp. Well, hemp is an originator of it. It's the more fibrous side of it. So there's different, just like a lot of species, there's different aspirations, or what do you call it, different dispensations within the species. You know, they come up a little differently. They come from this side of the planet as they do from that one, and so forth, you know. And sometimes there's some hybridization of seed that goes on. But somehow the element of Mary J. no matter how impure she may be handled, has, just like tobacco, has this basic elemental love energy in it that reconnects you with what I would say a form of the divine feminine. You know, that's how I see it in this aspect. I really see it as the center heart of all, the mother love, the life that we live. Each of us are an extension of the mother. And this is what these elemental things, these plants, these herbs, these sacred herbs, represent to us. And that's why some of us will indulge in it when wisdom would say otherwise. As we know the transformative energy within the sacred nature of that herb. We know why she's been suppressed and polluted. Because there was a hatred on this earth that felt separate from the mother love for a while. And ran rampant across the earth trying to find her and beat her up for it. It's crazy shit, man. That's the basic behavior of humanity for a long time. Some real wild shit. And that lust created out of that emptiness, some very huge diversions. But we also began to find out that it's all love. And that's what we were looking for all along. Just that simple love, that pure love, that pure light that these elemental things represent in a transformative way. That's why you burn them. That's why I like to smoke Mary J. and not, have it processed. I like it just straight up. Sometimes in a joint, mostly out of a pipe. I just enjoy the nature of, that's a pipe I can smoke, and it doesn't upset my tummy at all, man. The resins from the tobacco, however, just are in disagreement with my innards that way. I'm sure I could transform it, but it's okay, I get my little indulgence, and it helps me along the way. And because it helps me, it helps you, and you don't have to do it too. You see, one's enough. And there's plenty of us around that are holding the light energy that way and putting back together Mother inside in that elemental way, so we can put an end to that lust outside of ourselves, for that outside of ourselves. And we can appreciate you in this divine way, the way that, really this old heart always has, but saw it through that lustful filter just the same, couldn't help it. Part of the program that came with the turf I was born into, baby. Then there was heaviness there, let me tell you. But we got through it, we got to it. We're here now. And how? The lucky strike. The end of the gold rush. The end of the pain that goes with it. And all the emptiness and all the derision and division dissolving away. It's a lucky strike day, a free day Friday, and it's your lucky strike day. Token to you, my brothers and sisters. Sisters. Soul sisters. Wow. Star sisters. Whew. And how? And here's a clink to you with my official Coyote Club mug. Oh, I got a swallow left. Yes, indeed. Now I'm dry. I got to go fly. But darlings, just know that I love you. However this turns out, just know it's for the best of all of us. And flow with it, babies. Feel the love in it. And let the heart take you where you need to be. This is how we transform this reality and step away from the whole conception of regulation and distrust of our own heart and of our fellow human persons, etc. And how do we discharge that? Simply by seeing life in the flow, as it is, don't you know? Create your own medicine that way, babies. See, it's Coyote. It's always in disguise some way, yet plain as day. Take a look. See what else you get to see, babies. I was born to a generation that was just one generation away from its pioneer roots, basically, on both sides of the family, it was like some of my ancestors there in this little town in Utah were original white settlers there, Mormon pioneers. Came across with covered wagons and oxen pulling them, and so forth, So You know, I was born into kind of a traditional family already, you know, and expected to follow suit in the path of my ancestors, who had all been, you know, good Mormons of one sort or another. I was expected to be the same, and wow, and how I just didn't fit. So, you know, there was a lot of disturbance in my reality and my upbringing, because the only avenue I could find after I was incredibly insulted, and I'm sorry to say my mother was a part of that too, she handed me off. But, you know, I mean, she didn't mean nothing by it. I mean, she thought this was a blessing thing going on. They had her hoodwinked completely. You got to understand. We all live in it for one another, and each person has their path in life, and this was just a part of mine. You know, because of, you know, we're ripening ancient souls, you and I. Well, we often take on different roles, and mine had been quite fractured in this reality as a soul presence, so it was time to bring it back together in the last lifetime to be in this third dimensional reality. So we did it. Simple as that, really. Time was right. Just like I said, there was a moment in time where we got to put just the right amount of grease on just the right bearing and keep the whole thing going so it completes itself. Instead of in the old way, there's a lot of tension here right now because it's feared, greatly so, and there are plans in motion. We see them like chess pieces moving on a board and stuff for the world to descend itself into the hell of a nuclear holocaust of one sort or another. Holocaust. British, you know. Anyway, in our pronunciation, yes. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for our independence and liberty and justice for all. You know, may the heart of one set us all free. May we continue to dance our way through this divine mystery and unravel all of its history as we step back through time and see ourselves as the extension of the divine. The Mother-Father love presence in all. It expands gloriously into this reality that we create as a mutual heart all through all those levels of time. Back to that beginning mother that dreams it all into being and nurtures it so. So we have all these little nurturings that come to us in our childhood for anything we lack, especially that mother love. There will be something there to take its place and to give you a good start in life, you know, to keep you together where others would fracture and fall apart without it. You too. But there's the dog to help you. And then a little later along comes another elemental energy, and then another. And you get these little moments. You know, the prison here is the putting away of your childhood and your innocence to go with it. That's imprisonment. When you can't be a child and you can no longer understand the magic in the world around you, then you've grown up and you're in prison and you're serving a sentence just like everybody else does. And you make the best of it. Sometimes you're restricted by severe rules and regulations. Other times they kind of let you bounce around and pretend that you're free so that you'll produce things for them that they need. They being us as some people that have risen a little larger than others amongst humanity. But, you know, we're entering the land of equity, where all of that is no longer of concern to us. The wealth of the world is meaningless without the energy of the heart behind it now, isn't it? So we're re-empowering ourselves in that way too. There's some real trickery going on behind the treachery that you see before you that you think is going to lead to this war. See, we remember Atlantis, and this is what happened. It was very similar. The conditions of then are the conditions of now, the same in many ways. I think we were a little more advanced even then than we are now, but perhaps not. Perhaps what's been going on in the background is exactly that. We're far more advanced than you could ever imagine. And that's what's gotten us into trouble here, in a sense. As the military, well, it's not the military even. Whatever it is, it's run amok. You know, and it's gone way beyond us and become something that feels separate from us, you know, superior to us now. You see, some of the ET, as you call them, have that arrogance. They've looked down on humanity because we really went through the muck. Had a tough time of it, man. Just like I've had in this lifetime. You know, I think this lifetime is a representation of the cosmic history of the whole of humanity. My simple little life here and its humble beginnings, the absence of the presence of the mother for a while, etc., you know. Rough and tumble, babies, I tell you. You wouldn't want to live one like it. It was difficult. You know, and boy, I can't count the number of times I got myself knocked back down and had to start over again. God, it's so many times, it's incredible. But out of that, I developed that more than a survival instinct, a thrival instinct. I learned how to take that experience, you know, before I was knocked down and even to getting knocked down. I learned to take that and create it into something a little better the next time. And so I rose up a little level every time I got knocked down. It amplified me and brought me back up in a bigger way. So I've done some real foolish things in my time, and I've done some, probably some harmful things along the way. I pray not, but, you know, you can't help it sometimes. You cause trouble, you know, innocently, because you still do preserve that child some way. It may be in prison, but it's still there, and so it's still active in your life. And thank goodness for that, and all these little elements that support it and keep it going and give you a reason to be, and keep you flowing through a land of difficulty, so you can find the treasure, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of your life, which is the beginning of everything. So you didn't see that the rainbow originated in that pot of gold. It's not the treasure. It's the treasure of the life. You're the vessel of gold through which, or the keepers of the vessel of that gold. Let's say it that way, as persons. You're the keepers of that vessel of gold, the sun, that is the mother, and they are one. And they become the shining rainbow of creation. You see how that works? Oft times when we're dreaming around in the mystical way, we see ourselves floating around the sun. Watching out for it, right? The sunny thing in the sky, yeah, we do. Sometimes. Well, make of that what you will, babies. But what does that tell you? I mean, who are you and what are you all about? See, you're starting to appreciate that presence now. You know what gratitude is, man. And that's the attitude we need to be in here to finish this job and start flying. That gratitude. That gracious gratitude that is the attitude we see in the shining golden city of L.A., Los Angeles, the Lost Angels coming back to life, eh? It's a blessing we share, you know, a vision we share to show that we care. And we can materialize it into reality if we really dare. We can. We can make it exactly or whatever close to it, in close proximity to what I've described here, if that's the will and the vision of our heart. And we allow it to be. See, we gather together quite naturally here on the Hazy Radio Network for the Coyote Medicine Show, Monday through Friday, Free Day Friday, don't you know? And we assemble energies, and we begin to dream a more common dream and live a more common life, understanding the energy of synchronicity and the interwoven nature of life, how we're really not separate from anything. It all kind of flows together with us as the river of life and all the life in it. All the various forms of it. You see, it all kind of flows together. That's the living reality. And somehow we've isolated ourselves from that whole vision and lived as a stick in the mud in the center of the river or something. Islands in the stream. And the stream wears you down after a while. You can't help it. It's inevitable. You can't resist. You can't be opposite. It's the flow of love. It goes in a singular direction, which is incredibly expansive and natural for all. Life just living in its natural way. And you know, there might be a few little swirls and eddies here and there. But I think we already passed through the age of the rapids and the waterfalls and so forth. I think we're expanding out into the grand delta of love now, where life, exotically recreates itself again and again, as the river delivers life to the richness of the earth around her. And the ocean of love is united. And they're one with the earth and sun, the flowing ones, the glowing ones, the radiant light of the ocean in motion. The tawdry little human being that is so damn grand. Now here's how you allow this to be. You remember quite naturally the time when you first stepped in here, whenever that was. It's been a while now. I can guarantee you that. Seasoned veterans, everybody that's here now and ready for it too, man. But at the same time as the grand reward comes, we realize why and how we got here, We see ourselves as, these rather grand spirit presences standing before the fleshly representations of humanity in male and female form for the first time. And we feel our energy absorbing into there, and we say, how the hell's that ever going to happen? We're so expansive, we are the universe, and you want us to contain it all in that little tiny thing? That's what we're saying to ourselves as we stepped in here. And guess what? It took some time. The seasoning of 1 billion generations, maybe. Who knows what the exact number is? It's just a flow. In and out and in and out and roundabout, like the dance and the swirling eddies of the river of love. Taking us smoothly over the rapids of life so we could enjoy it. It was like a bubble bath. Just made us tickle and tingle and brought us back to life a little more, a little more, a little more. See, the river is a regenerative thing, and as it flows along the life around it quite naturally, it just gets richer, as well as the life within it. Because it's joining the ocean, the point of creation, the heart, the organic. Oh, baby. It's a rockin' world we live in. This flow of love. See, that's where the understanding goes beyond nationality and corporations and all the 3D shit to go with it. You just don't live in that presence any longer. You don't see it that way anymore. It's been recreated right before your very eyes. It's been transformed in a heartbeat, just like L.A. All of a sudden, what claimed to be paradise is paradise. The rest of the planet right along with her, eh? Welcome back to the reality of freedom, the freedom of choice, the freedom of being who you really are. To never again have to put this childlike love away. To be fully and completely innocent, fully present inside of your human person, your human being, this little fleshly carcass we call love in motion, man. And in this way, man, do you understand the expansive nature of life. And become nature in that expansive way again. The Christmas gift of love, the New Year's of life, the beginning of the seasoning of life, the enrichment, the use of the available power that's there naturally in your heart to recreate it again and again and experience it as we will in the perfection of our own paradise, so that each moment just tingles and resonates as a singular moment in all of existence. The blossoming flower is there, and that's all the power there ever is, the simplicity of that one moment. We'll live the worst kind of lives just to experience that one moment. And it's there somewhere. Coming to you live and in person right now from the Rocky Mountain High, from old Grandpaw Koyote. This is how we take off and fly, you and I. This is our love in motion. This is our life, rewarding us with its rich blessing of blossoming now. Everything before this time been fertilizer for the field of life that gives you a basis to grow from. You appreciate the strength of your loving heart through all the moments of it, in other words. Because you remember the child you had to put away. You embrace that child and bring it forward today. You release it from the imprisonment of the heart by allowing the heart to be in motion. See, it was the heart you imprisoned. The child is the center of that, of course. That's the innocent eye. The one love. Old Sparky, as I call him. The little tiny thing from which everything extends into being. Whatever that is. It's way beyond corpuscles and muscles, let me tell you. But it's a part of those too. It's everything that resonates itself into life. Gathered into a singular moment in presence. In the entirety of reality. The center of the center of the center of the center of. The bringing together of all dimensionality to the original moment and the reblossoming of life in a conscious presence forward from that moment to where we are right now. So it's seen as a blossoming flower. If you could see the grand picture of it, it's seen as a blossoming flower. And the singularity of your heart's vision, you know that now. You know the blossoming of the prairie flower and of the woman who arose from it some 600 years ago, don't you? The legend's got it just a wee bit legendary. But that's the reality. The rebirth of the entire universe symbolized in the poetic presence of that divine heart that came forward to help us along the way 600 years ago. Blossoming forward from a prairie flower as a human presence in this reality, and divinely so. One of the most worshipped in this whole wide world. Divinity in its most divine and feminine way. Elegant beyond belief. Radiant with the life she lives. The child of the buffalo prairie, from whose excrement her flower arose. What a grand metaphor, yet a reality too, babies. You're living it right along here with me on this medicine show we call Coyote. Remembering the way of the real heart. The flow of the ocean of the love, the ocean of motion, love in motion. As a visible presence in this life, come to regenerate the entirety of her creation. And that's why she comes as a she, blossoming from the flower. She needs you to understand her heart now. Just like there was an absence of the presence of the mother in the early part of my life, in this reality, in the early part, there seemed to be that same absence. See what I mean about my life being some kind of cosmic reflection of the entirety of humanity? Somehow I lived through it all in this lifetime. Reflectively, you know. But it's given me this odd sort of power to understand. I'm in a very different space now than I was a half hour ago or an hour ago or whatever, you know, let alone 3 minutes ago. We keep growing like that. I share the vision of the blossoming with you because you're going through the same process too in your own way. So that's the beauty of personality. It's a little rivulet in the river of life that just loves itself being the wriggly little rivulet that it is, colorful and reflective in the light of sun. And the life around it reflects it right back, and its image is held in that reflection. You see. But when the bright light's shining right overhead, reflecting life is the sunlight. That's what the water reflects back, is the sunlight. The purity of life. And the life around it growing because of that grand sunlight. And all of it in a celebratory way, because it really is happy to be alive and be a bird. Or the vessel of the heart called humanity. Or any others that live in that forest jungle of life we call reality. The beauty of this earth is beyond description. After we've lived her in this 3D, now imagine her reality. Because it's in that imagining that you see. And you recreate it. Same way that mother of love coming back to us 600 years ago. And that's odd years. Could be 700, could be 500, you know, it could be 1,000. Who knows? 600 is the number I get. Came forth from a prairie flower in the high desert prairies. Some of the most desolate country you ever saw. Wind blown, harsh, temperatures extreme, the insects unbelievably mean, the hostility of the environment, almost embracing its hostility. It's edgy. Yet, in the blossoming of this flower and the expression that comes forward from that, in the most harsh of places, the heart's most gracious. And the prairie experienced a settling then. And it's in its own way became a less hostile place of being. A fertile cradle from which life could give itself rebirth, regeneration, reawakening. The presence of the feeling of the divine heart in everything that lives. See, that's what this experience is all about. The appreciation is living. that brings forward the divine heart of love in each and everything. We're just the beginning of that. We're a specter at the center of all reality, dust in the wind, but that dust through which life passes into being. Again, the treasure at the end of the rainbow is us. We got lost in the colors for a while, didn't we? We had a great time with it, don't I? You got to admit. It's been crazy, but it's not only been endurable. We made the best of it. We had some rock and roll good times here, man. Can't be beating ourselves up. And look at the shit we set ourselves free from. The whole ancestral chain of robotic energy and programmed behavior started to end with my generation and got successively more free with each generation born beyond me, right up to the time of now, when really elegant and awakened souls are coming to life now in the presence of human form. To be here to guide us through this experience of love we call the regenerative life. Now I wonder from whom and from which that presence of mother love arises. In the blossoming flower of love that we are, why do you think we see ourselves as blossoming flowers? The mother of love is coming through us now, the same way she did 600 years ago in the flower itself, on the grand prairie of love. And we're bringing forth a new presence, just like she did back in that day. It's simultaneous, wouldn't you say? Oh, babies, let yourself travel this one. It's the flight of many lifetimes and the arrival of truth within all that is. The feeling of the resonating presence of love in everything. Understanding its place in being, its purpose of being, and not being critical of itself any longer. Relieving itself of the harsher ways. Extending its hearts into the calm prairie waters of life that flow with the gentle nature of love. They're never rapid in their motion, but always flowing, dancing, glowing, being sparkling and alive in the bright of the noonday sun. The day of the showdown is over. It's just begun. The life that is that means, which is the presence of peace, the peaceful heart, the arousal of the steady energy of the mother love that brought us all to life in the first place. And no matter how she maintained us in this life, was always there for us in some kind of presence. When she couldn't come through one, she'd come through another, but she'd be there. She's a mother. And she's never ever left you alone. Not ever. So now you can learn to rely on her heart as it lives within you, and assign that heart to her presence as she assigns it to you as your presence. You are the one, the mother of one, which is the mother of all creation. Welcome home, darlings. Happy to be dancing with your little heart here in this center of this mother love, eh? Quite the extension in this reality, ain't we, babies? Coming back to life. Oh, babies, isn't this fun? Not going to be on the run no more, man. We've evened the score. Settled the ancient burden. And we ain't going to live there no more. The baby is free to be the grown adult person that you be. In the complete nature of liberty does it arrive and arise and glow as the sun glows. That's how we even the score in this game. We love with equity. If we expect equity, we love with equity. Equity, I'm sorry, I stumbled over the word. So you understand the meaning that goes with it and the power of the love behind it. You see it in equity, it be it in equity. Simple as that, don't you see? That's what Oki's saying. Bust it down to the simple side. Take the magic carpet ride. Allow yourself to be the magic that you are. Each of us, that is, as the living beings and vessels of love, the true angelic presence that we are, even in little doggy form. All the way around this reality, finding our way back to it, don't you see? The simple nature of life, in which the one love is given, the baby-like way, sees it clearly, knows the magic in it, and clung to the presence of that magic no matter what happened to it in his life. Came back to life in the presence of love, just as it should be, quite naturally. It's coyote medicine, don't you know? Even here on the Coyote Medicine Show, how about that? Keeping that heart in the flow, helping you understand the divine glow that resides within you, and the simplicity of that elegant heart that is embraced by the divine intelligence, which gives it its form of intelligence and creation too. The ability to see creation as it be. From the heart, quite naturally. A vision shared from way up here in the air, 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky. You got that guy and his old pal too, Grandpaw Koyote and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a whole bunch of others here too. The family is present in the heart of the one love of humanity. That's each and every one of us gathered here today in the spaceship love, in that spaceship sort of way. Now watch what we see, what we reflect into this reality. We're learning. We're catching on. Oh yeah, ain't we, babies? This is living the way it's meant to be given. Happy Free Day Friday, everybody. Salute with my official Coyote Club mug. Oh, babies, we love you so. Oh, and if you're a real member of this tribe, you'll always be sipping on coffee. I don't care if you live in South Africa or Asia or England, you know. You gotta, do a little coffee each morning with us here. Just a little bit, a cup or so, mug or so. Me, I do 3 gallons. I can't help it, it's a habit, But then you follow that with a resonating toke of our blessed and sacred Mary J. to help you along the way. Now, if you can't participate in this humble, beautiful, expansive moment, well then, because of legalities or lack of supply or whatever, the sacred herb is there with you in the form of this energetic love and the vision we're sharing right now. It's a full presence, a full person in our reality. Don't you see? Oh, yes, indeedy. So says Pope Mary Jane herself through my divine male presence here in Pope Coyote form, man. You betcha, the Pope of Pop, man. Doesn't life just rock? Isn't it just crazily, caricaturally comedic and just fun to be in? You're starting to feel like a fuzzy dog with his hair raised up and he needs to bark a little bit. You understand that shit now? Understand the wilder nature of it and how tame it really is, how gentle it really can be, because it is now, and how power of love beyond anything that ever suggested before, the real technology of life coming into being now. You see, the stuff around us couldn't help but be just a humble representation of that. The good nature of love is alive in all of us now, shining like the sun, baby. Because you're the only one, gathered with everyone. Ain't that fun? Even Obi-Wan Kenobi here, man, he loves you so.
Ain't no